Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks. And somebody sent me this file, and I'm not completely understanding what is wrong with it. It's cutting it out of metal, and with a plasma cutter, it's just not gonna. It's got way too many nodes, and it's real little. It's only 11 inches. That's a lot of cutting within 11 inches, but that's just my terminology or thinking on it. So what I would do first is I'm going to take the rectangle and I'm going to smart fill it. Let's smart fill it in black. And this way we'll see if it has any leaks, and it does not. That's what you're going to see in the metal. So that's a pretty cool design. I would just trash this one and go with this, and then when you left click, right click, and make sure it's a hairline, double click on your pen tool. Most plasma cutters I would think would need hairlines. But the main problem is there's some little bitty parts that'll work. These two parts maybe are too close together, and I would maybe get rid of that sharp turn there and make it a single arc. But what we're going to do now, it's 6.6. I'm going to change my nudge factor to 7. I'm going to hit the plus key on the keyboard and move it over so we can look at it later. Look at the nodes. There are 4,197 nodes. Let's take it and go up here to the reduce nodes. You can do the slide bar, but safely you can put in the number 20. We went to 400 and we went to 1/10 of the nodes. Now, if we look at it side by side, and almost probably have to fill it in to really get a good effect, there's virtually no difference. This one is equally as well. So what I would do is just back up here and just delete this one. And then I would look at some of the parts of the horse and make sure, like right there, that's not going to work. That's a no-no in plasma cutting. Well, it'd actually be a no-no in laser cutting too. I would just click on that node and just delete it, and maybe delete that one. So we've deleted 2 nodes there. Let's try to delete that one. Didn't really change too much. There's an awful lot of nodes right there, and you can kind of see it when you back up. This is a no-no. You can't have those nodes that close apart. I would actually, if you have X7 or above, I would get the smoothing tool and set it on like 1 inch. Wow, that's still too big. Let's go like 0.25 of an inch. And let's zoom in here. Plasma cutting would rather have, to me anyway, I would rather, so just snap on your item, select your item, and take out some of these sharp, we want some of the sharp points, but some of these jagged points just don't need to be there. So we can do I'm just snapping on it and just barely touching it. Not really reducing too many nodes yet, but I would look over the whole thing. Like in plasma cutting, the fewer nodes, the better. We might be able to take away that node, and we did. So now there's only 2 nodes there. You could have some square points like that. Where was that one point we were looking at earlier? And if you just kind of look back at it, where there's so many nodes like up in here and up in here, but that's because the person has actually drawn lines. So if you look at this thing, and if we go to object and break the curve apart, so we can look at every individual object, that is only 1/8 of an inch long. I mean, that's really long. I would expand that out, maybe take the shape tool. You might lose a little, when you're cutting out something that close, you might lose the arc. So maybe make it a little bit bigger. You can move your handles, maybe make it, because this is a piece of barbed wire, so it's going to be rounded. And really, once you get one shape, I would delete that one and just Control D and make a duplicate. And if you don't want them similar, you could reverse it and then spin it around. click on the tool. And of course, I wouldn't want to have two flat sides together. Everything else looks pretty good. That piece, I saw a piece earlier that just might be too close because the plasma table gets extremely hot. That right there is going to be a weak spot. I would just delete it. So take that node and delete it. Grab these two nodes, right click and turn it into a line, and then delete those two nodes. Everything else looks pretty good. I thought I saw another part. Here it is. That's just, I mean, look, you're going to burn a hole. So we could do two things. One, we're going to get rid of that sharpness by deleting one of the nodes. Don't like that. Let's take that node, don't like that. So let's leave those two nodes, but let's take the smoothing tool again. Grab that item and just barely smooth it over. Now we can take the shape tool and we can just grab those two nodes and just move them away from that other part. Other than that, I mean, I would still look over it. Like this is going to be a really thin piece here, and I might have accidentally moved that. So we could do one thing, we could grab this and just move this node down. Of course, when you do that, you need to look at everything. This is, I mean, the cool graphic, but it'd be so much better to not have those sharp points right there. Give the plasma cutter somewhere to kind of follow along and not have to do so many things. I know what she's trying to do, or they're trying to do right here with the bob wire. So I don't want to change their drawing too much. You could maybe move that one over a little bit. Possibly move this one up and move this one down. Give it a little bit of effect. And then after you've done everything you could possibly do, and this would be a good reason to use the pan tool, is because you're at that zoom level and you can just pan around and see if there's any other parts that might not work. You know, just click on every piece and go, I don't need that node. I don't really need that node. You know, take some nodes out that are in straight lines, you know, look through here. You could actually take that node away, maybe even bring this up a little bit. Give the plasma cutter a little room to run around, you know, give it some interior arcs are just as important, if not more important. Now let's see what we did. Let's select it all, grab the shape tool. Let's go to object, group it together, grab it, grab the shape tool. Well, I guess I'll have to break it apart to get the shape tool to work. Go to object, ungroup. Look, we went to 56, well, it's 56 objects. We've already ungrouped it. But we got a lot less nodes. Well, what we can do is take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in again. Horse looks just as good, if not better, hopefully. I see a really thin line right up in there. That's real hard on a plasma cutter, like in there. Now, okay, I see another problem. There's an outline around some of this stuff. And so let's do this. Let's grab it all and right-click, no outline. That made those slices a lot bigger. And like right here, that's going to be too thin. We can actually do it while we're in this mode, but we're going to change it up a little bit. Now let's see how many nodes we had. 444. I think I can't remember. We had a lot. Anyway, I would be real comfortable about cutting this out. Left click, right click, and make sure it's a hairline. Evidently you drawing half point line. And I always find it better, let's say if your table size is 48 by 48, is to go ahead and make your bed size the size of your plasma table. And I would seriously cut this out a little bit bigger. You know, make it at least 25 inches because those are some mighty little cuts inside there. Like that cut right there, I'd probably move it, you know, out of the way. We're going to have to go to object, break the curve apart again. And we could grab those two nodes and just bring it in. You know, just try to get it away from these other parts. So you won't have, it looks really good. I like the idea. I see another node we don't need right there. And once you know, we probably don't need that node. Probably don't need that node. And this would be a good part to take the smoothing tool. And the one I'm doing this for, I'll actually send you this file, but I would keep looking over it. Give the plasma cutter some room to turn. You know, it's so hot that if you don't give it room to turn, there's some nodes we don't need. Again, we want that shape, so I wouldn't do anything about it, but you know, bring that out a little bit and let it have some room to roam. And then after you've done everything you could possibly do, I would smart fill it again. Anyway, I hope that helped them a little bit, and thank you for watching.